Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon.
Afternoon, everyone.
Hai,
Today we will recording our last presentation, and I will be the first presenter. I will explain about our top our 15th topic. We'll start with topic 1, the introduction of linguistics. Introduction of linguistics. Linguistics is the scientific study of language and its structure. Linguistics can be broken down into many branches, including sociolinguistics, psycholinguistics, semiotics, syntax, and the others. Linguistics focus on systematic investigation of the properties of particular language as well as the characteristic of language in general. Next, the secondary topic, the title is The Nature of Human Language. The nature of human language is a little bit unique because in being a symbolic communication system, there is learned instead of biological inherent. Symbols are sounds or things which have meaning given to them by the users. Originally, the meaning is assigned. Any language that occurs naturally in human community by process of use, repetition, and change without conscious planning of premeditations. And I will next to the topic 3, the anatomy of linguistic study. Linguistics is a scientific study of language. At the heart of linguistics is an understanding of the unconscious knowledge. How humans acquire language, the general specific structures of language. The five domains of language include phonology, morphology, syntax, semantic, and the pragmatics. And the topic 4 is talk about the phonology. Phonology is study of the patterns of sounds in a language and across language. In formality explanations, phonology is study of the categorical organization of speech sounds in language. How the sounds of speak are organized in the mind and used to convey meaning. And the fifth topic is more about the morphology. Morphology is a study of the internal structure of words and forms a core part of linguistics. The term morphology is to have a meaning. The study of the structure of word. There are several types of morphology, including the inflectional morphology, derivational morphology, and lexical morphology. And the sixth topic is about the syntax. Syntax is the term used to refer to arrangement of words, phrases, and clauses in the sentence to make them sound and look meaningful. Syntax is the order of the words in a sentence. The term can be applied to how clauses, phrases, and qualifier are ordered. So the type of sentence and their syntax include simple sentence, compound sentence, complex sentence, and compound complex sentence. And the seventh topic is semantic and the pragmatics. Semantic is a study of the relationship between units of language, and the meaning pragmatics is concerned with how we use language in communication and therefore involve the interaction of semantic knowledge with our knowledge of the word, including such things are context in which as language. Topic 8 is about discourse analysis. Discourse analysis are interested in how the context of a communicative event affect the meaning of the language used. For example, the meaning of home will be different depending on whether it's spoken to a family member, a friend, or a stranger. So discourse analysis involves looking beyond the literary meaning of language, understanding the context in which a social approach consists of three elements. The elements of discourse analysis are content, context, and the assumptions. Next topic 9 is about first language acquisitions. First first language acquisition begins when we are born and develops unconsciously. So language acquisition starts in earnest at birth and continues until puberty. There are several type to do the first language acquisition. As we know, is caregiver speech, cooing and babbing, the one word stage, and two word stage. We move to topic 10 is about second language, foreign language, and the language teaching. For the introduction, I will explain about the language learning. Looks like similar with language acquisition, but both of them is different in another way. The language learning is the form to learn more deeply about some language, like the study about the grammar, the way we talk to another people, how we have some conversation with other people. The second language are the simple word we know as SLA. It's the process to learn non-native language when someone learn the language while being the same on native context. And the last one is foreign language. It's the process when someone try to learn another language, which is they learn a different language or not their native language. And topic 11 about language assessment and language testing. English language assessment is a test your natural language abilities in listening, speaking, reading, and writing. The difference between the language testing and language assessment is a testing is an objective measure used to evaluate a student's knowledge, skill, or ability. An assessment is an evaluation of student progress and progress towards learning goals. And then topic 12 about cognitive linguistic. There are psycholinguistic, neurolinguistic, and the clinical linguistic. I will explain about psycholinguistic first. Psycholinguistic is a language and psychology. A combination of psychology and the linguistics, psycholinguistic studies that psychological factors that enable humans to acquire, use, and understand the language. The aim of the psycholinguistic is to search for an appropriate and superior theory of language from a linguistic and psychological perspective. The secondary is neurolinguistic, is about language and the brain, a field of science that studies the brain's process in recording and performing the language. Neurolinguistic explore how our brain handle the various aspects of language, such as speaking, listening, and writing. And the last one is clinical linguistic, is about language and health therapy. The application of linguistic concepts, theory, and method to study of language disorder. Clinical linguistics draws on conceptual research of the full range of linguistic disciplines to describe and explain language disorder. And topic 13 about translation and interpretation. Translation and interpretation are needed to enable communication between culture and across language. In a world where communication is the key, it is necessary to use to help interpreters and the translators to effectively communicate. Translation describe the meaning of written words from one language to another language. While linguistic and cultural skill are critical, the most important quality is a good translator must have the ability to write well in the target language. The interpretation is convey the meaning of spoken words from one language to the another language. The function of interpretation to provide the reader, listener, and the viewer with entrance into a text, whether that text be literary, visual, or musical work. An interpreter must be able to translate in a both direction spot without using dictionaries or the reference materials. 14th topic is about forensic linguistic, stylistic, and semiotic. Forensic linguistic about language and law. Forensic linguists perform language analysis on written and recorded document to help solve the crime. Forensic linguist studies the forensic linguist studies dialect, grammar, sentence construction, phonetic, and the other linguistic areas to determine authenticity and ensure correct interpretations. And the second is about stylistic. Stylistic, the study about the linguistic style. There are three types of style in stylistic. The first one is stylicians literary stylistic. Secondary is interpretive stylistic, and the third is evaluative stylistic. The third is about the semiotic. Semiotic, the linguistic study of the sign. Semiotic studies that sign process building meaningful communication and the study of meaning making. In semiotic, there are three types of semiotic have three types of the study. The first is cognitive semiotic, study how individual conceptualize a meaning by using sign system. And the second is social and cultural semiotics, studies how signs systems develop and are used in specific cultures. And the third, visual semiotic, focus on non-linguistic visual sign like in art and the design. And the last topic is about sociolinguistic, anthropolinguistic, and ethnolinguistic. The sociolinguistic is a language and society. Sociolinguistic is a descriptive study of the effect of any or all aspect of society, including cultural norms, expectation, and context on language and the way it is used. The example of sociolinguistic study include gender language differences, regional differences, and how social class impact language use. Second is anthropolinguistic, about language and the study of the culture. Anthropolinguistic, study of the relationship between language and culture. It usually refers to work on language that have to written records. The third is ethnolinguistic, is language ethnicity. The branch of linguistic concerned with the relations between linguistic and cultural behavior. In area of anthropological linguistic that studies the relationship between language and the non-linguistic cultural behavior of the people who speak that language. Ethnolinguistic, the way perception and conceptualizations influence language and show how that is linked to different cultures and society. An example is how spatial orientation is expressed in various cultures. So I think I'm done with my presentation. We will move to another presenter. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay.
Do you wanna? You or me?
Who wants to go next?
Okay, maybe.
Mm, yeah,
You wanna go next or
I'm going
what
first,
do
Adam.
you want?
Okay, so I will start the presentation with the nature of human language. uh,
Adam.
okay, I will
Yeah.
start the presentation with the nature of human language natural. The study of language. The study of language is known as linguistics. Linguistics is a scientific field that explores the structure, use, and meaning of language, right?
Mm.
And the next material is about the anatomy of linguistics. In anatomy of linguistics, there are two material. It's about microlinguistic and macrolinguistic. The first one is microlinguistic. Microlinguistic, also known as micro-level linguistics, focus on the detailed analysis of specific linguistic elements within a language. This level of analysis zooms in on the eh, smallest units of language and examines their structures, function, and meanings. Microlinguistics include phonetics, phonology, morphology, syntax, semantic, pragmatic, and discourse analysis. And the next one is macrolinguistic. Macrolinguistic involves the study of broader, more global aspect of language and its use within societies and cultures. Um, and I will move to the next material. It's phonology. In phonology, we are study about phonetics, articulatory phonetics, acoustic phonetic, phoneme, and phoneme. The first one is phonetics. Phonetics is the branch of linguistics that deals with the study of the sounds of human speech. There are three main branches of phonetics. The first one is articulatory phonetics. Articulatory phonetics, this branch of phonetics is concerned with the um, physical aspect of speech sounds, specifically how they are produced by the human vocal organs. And the next one is acoustic phonetics. Acoustic phonetics examines the acoustic properties of speech sounds, focusing on the transmission of sound waves through the air. And the next one is the auditory phonetics. Auditory phonetics explores how humans perceive and interpret speech sounds. And the last one is about phoneme. A phoneme is the smallest unit of sound in a language that can uh, distinguish one word from another. And the next material it's about morphology. A morpheme is the smallest units of meaning in a language. There are two types of morpheme, free morpheme and bound morpheme. Free morphemes can stand alone with a specific meaning. For examples, eat, take, week, and bound morphemes can stand alone with meaning. And next, it's about open class and closed class. An open class is one that commonly aspects the addition of new words, while a closed class is one to which new items are very rarely added. Open class morpheme include nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. Closed class morpheme, in contrast, include so-called function words such as determiners, preposition, pronouns, auxiliaries, and conjunction. And I will move to syntax. Syntax refers to the set of rules and principles that govern the structure of sentences in a language. In linguistics, is a part of speech, refers to the category into which words can be classified based on the grammatical and semantic properties. And I will move to semantic and pragmatics. Semantic is indeed the study of meaning in language, but it encompasses more than just textual or literal meaning. Semantic examines how words, phrase, sentences, and discourse convey meaning, including both literal and non-literal meaning. In semantics, the terms sign, signified, and signifier are often used to describe the relationship between words and their meaning. I will move to discourse analysis. Discourse analysis is the study of language used in written or spoken communication. Spoken discourse, like written discourse, has a structure that helps facilitate effective communication, while spoken discourse is often more dynamic and less structured than written discourse. It still follows certain patterns and conventions. And the next material is about the first language acquisition. Language learning refers to the process of acquiring the ability to understand, speak, read, and write in a new or foreign language. First language acquisition is the process by which children learn their native language. It is a remarkable and complex process that typically occurs in the early years of life. And about the one word stage, also known as the one word stage, is an early phase of language development in infants of toddlers, and the two word stage, also known as a telegraphic stage, is a significant phase in language development that typically follows the one word stage in young children. And the next material is about second language, foreign language, and language teaching. Language learning and language acquisition are two different approaches to gaining proficiency in a new language. Language learning is often more prevalent in formal education setting. Language acquisition, on the other hand, is more common in the real world. And second language acquisition refers to the process of learning language. Foreign language acquisition refers to the process of learning and becoming proficient in a language that is not native to your own country or culture. And the next material is about language assessment and language testing. Language testing refers to the assessment and evaluation of an individual's proficiency in a particular language. Part of language testing is like TOEFL, TOEIC, and IELTS. And the next material is about cognitive linguistics. It's all about psycholinguistics, neurolinguistics, and clinical linguistics. Psycholinguistics. Psycholinguistics is a multidisciplinary science in the form of a combination of psychology and linguistics. Psychology is a science that studies human behavior and human relationship, and linguistics is a science that studies language scientifically. Linguistics studies psycholinguistics. Psycholinguistics is a scientific discipline that question and describe the psychological process that enable humans to understand and use the language. And about the neurolinguistic, neurolinguistics is the study of how language is represented in the brain. And clinical linguistics is the branch of linguistics that applies linguistic concepts and theories to the study of language disorders. And the next material is about translation and interpretation. Translation and interpretation are related linguistic activities, but they involve different skills and serve a distinct process. Translation refers to the process of rendering written or spoken text from one language into another, while interpretation, on the other hand, involves the real-time a conversation of spoken language from one language to another. And the next module is about forensic linguistics, stylistic, and semiotics. Forensic linguistics is a field of study that involves the application of linguistic analysis and methods to solve legal and criminal issues. And stylistic is a branch of linguistics that focus on the study of style in language. And semiotic is the study of sign and symbol, and their use in communication. And the last material is about sociolinguistics, anthropolinguistics, and ethnolinguistics. Sociolinguistics study the relationship between language and society and how social factors impact language use. And anthropolinguistics is the study of relationship between language and culture. It usually refers to work on language that have no written records. And anthropolinguistics combines elements of anthropology and linguistics to explore how language reflects and shapes social. And ethnolinguistics is an area of anthropological linguistics that studies the relationship between language and the non-linguistic cultural behavior of the people who speak in the language. Okay, I think that's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you,
Alright, thank you,
Keisha.
Kay. So I'm next, and the time's not really that much left, so I'll just go really fast, guys. Is it okay?
Okay.
So I'm just gonna start off with phonology. Now, phonology is the sound that everyone creates. It's a phoneme. Phoneme is the smallest unit that a human could create. Now, moving on from phoneme is morpheme. Morpheme is morphology, which is the smallest word from a sound that is created. For example, apple, that is a morpheme. Now, from a morpheme, you could add a suffix or a prefix, making it like a apple-like, so it's like an apple. Or next, we could go up to syntax, which means, so it's phoneme, morpheme, and then syntactical order. So it could either be a sentence, it could be a clause, or it could be whatever. And it must contain a verb or an auxiliary and a noun clause. Now, the auxiliary here is to justify or give clarity to the noun. Now, next, moving on is pragmatics and semantics. Semantics means literal meaning of a sentence or a clause. Pragmatics is kind of the opposite. It's the same meaning, but it's not literally. So, for example, we say the baby store. The store doesn't actually sell babies. Now, next, we move to discourse analysis. Discourse analysis focuses on how linguists study and analyze a certain language from a native speaker of this language. From this language, now they would study how they write, how they communicate. Now, next, we move to first language acquisition. First language acquisition is how humans or how babies acquire their first language, either by parents teaching them or from other factors. That's what linguists study. And next would be second language acquisition. Second language acquisition is actually two types. There's second language learning and second language acquisition. Now, second language learning is what we study at school, like we literally study verbs or grammar. But acquisition is when we surround ourselves with environments when people speak a certain language. Now we move on to language testing, which is when humans test the capability of a certain language. And then we move on to psycholinguistics, neurolinguistics, and clinical linguistics, which is normally linguists would see how what language disorders humans have, and they would check their brains in neurolinguistics with a neuroscan. And then next we move on to what's next, guys? Wait. Sociolinguistics, neurolinguistics, clinical linguistics, translation and interpretation. Translation and interpretation means when we translate a certain text from a language to another language that normally people would request or what we would like to. And then interpretation means the same, but it's oral version. So it could be live or it could be pre-recorded. It could be anything. Now that's for translation and interpretation. Now next would be a forensic linguistics, stylistics, and semiotics. Forensic linguistics is when language is used to solve a certain crime in a forensic scheme. For example, a plagiarism case or whatever, like a murder case from an accent. And then stylistics is the study of how style kind of affects the language. For example, in poems or in a news report, they would speak fast. and then semiotics is how sign affects language. So, for example, in class we would raise our hands to ask a question. We don't even have to say anything. The teacher would understand that. So that is kind of like semiotics. Now, moving on to the next one, the final one, I believe, which is sociolinguistics, anthropolinguistics, and ethnolinguistics. Sociolinguistics is how language is used in different societies. So, for example, why humans talk in different notes or tones in with different other people. So, like how close you are to the human will affect you. And then ethnolinguistics is how ethnicity defines a language. So, for example, Eskimos would have all different types of words for snow, rather than the Aztecs would have only one word for snow, cold, and rain. So it's like that. And then anthropolinguistics is a study of culture and language, which is language before any pre-recorded text or whatever. All right, guys, I think that's it. Did I do good?
Yeah.
How many minutes left?
Yeah.
Ooh, 2 minutes left.
We still have 1 minute left.
Is it all good?
Yeah.
Please turn your mics.
Sorry.
All right. Right. All good.
Okay, that's good. We still have 1 minute left.
I think I did too fast, man. Should I?
That's okay.
Explain? It's not 10 minutes though. Fuck. Sorry. What should I explain? Okay, I'm just gonna explain that really quick. Second language learning is different types. Normally, that's the problem with Indonesian people when they want to study English. They go to a school or they go to a private lesson where they get fed by grammar or that's normally grammar or listening. That doesn't really help you in good sense of way in English because you won't really know how to write a paper well, or you won't really know how to speak the language correctly, rather than second language acquisition, which actually makes you acquire the language by communicating in a community with English speakers every day and everyday life. And I think that's one of the problems why in Indonesia it's pretty hard to get good English suppliers, and that's why not a lot of people speak English, basically, because it's hard to find this acquisition aspect in Indonesia. Now, what else should I explain more? Probably syntax. I explained about auxiliary. Every syntax.
Wow, we don't have enough time. But Adam did really good. Done.